Hello, beautiful people. So today I'd like to talk about, before I've talked about being authentic, and to kind of continue on with that, part of being authentic is to take responsibility for your actions. And this is meaning on a daily basis. So you have to look into certain things. One of them being core wounding, childhood core wounding, and that's where you would start. Because after all, when we have these issues that continue to recycle themselves over and over and over in this patterning, that if we become honest and admit to ourselves about what's going on and the patterns that we have, and identify these patterns, then we're able to then go deeper into understanding where they came from, identifying. And when you identify, then you're able to go from there and say, okay, I have this identification. Now let me go ahead and address this and acknowledge it and find out what I need to do to get some assistance. And what I found is very powerful, besides my light language and energy work, would be working with the subconscious mind, because everything is energy. Every thought we have is energy. Every word we speak is energy, and there are intentions behind those words. So it may not necessarily be the word that you're speaking, but it's the intention that you have behind that word. So when you're angry, that is a lower, denser energy, and that you're surrounding yourself and others with. And of course, because again, like I've mentioned, you can't hold two forms of energy in the same space. So you can't have love and hate in the same space. So one has to give way. So you're either going to lower your frequency or you're going to raise your frequency. And so we have a responsibility to ourselves and to humanity to do the best that we can, and to become, to acknowledge that which we already are. And when you start getting projection into play and things of finger pointing, there's also mirroring, which mirroring is an excellent tool that's naturally put into play, that we don't realize it. We don't realize what's going on, the things that we dislike, the things that annoy us, the things that bother us, the things that bother us in other people. Those are the things that are meant to mirror, so that we can look at them and identify, oh, this is a core wound of mine. This is an issue I have with myself. But of course that takes a lot of work, and that takes a lot of dedication and discipline. And it's much easier to project. It's much easier to ascribe our own faults and bad behavior. It's easier to ascribe that onto other people, so that we don't have to take responsibility. And what is not understood is, when we don't take responsibility for our own actions and instead project and blame and run from it, which then you could get into the twin flame aspect, to where this seems to be happening, but it doesn't have to be with just twin flames. This is life. This is society. And so people that have a greater understanding about life and are able to identify these things, that's part of growth. It's part of self growth. And whether it's twin flame or not, you cannot have a successful coupling, union, or relationship, whatever you'd like to call it, with an individual who continues to project, who continues to see no fault in their actions. And what they don't understand is how harmful that is to humanity, if we want to look, and let's just start, we go to the smallest factor, which is the union, the coupling, the relationship, just the two people. And then if they have children involved, if there's other family involved, even into your community, into your work environment, And it just expands out. Everything being energy. Energy is limitless. It's infinite. You know, everything is, we are everything and we are nothing. So the negative effects are just endless. So, and we don't stop and look at this. We don't stop and look at what's really going on, and it starts with each individual, and then the couple, and then the family, and it goes out and out. And instead of looking at, and this is why so many relationships do not work. They do not work, and because first of all, people don't really understand what unconditional love is. Okay, it's mainly conditional, and they don't have a lot of the qualities that are necessary: grace, compassion, forgiveness, and understanding that we're all human here, that we're all human. But also with that fact of that we're all human, we also need to understand that we have a responsibility to this world and to this universe and universes. And running away from our problems is not the answer. Is it easy to admit your faults? Is it easy to admit your mistakes? Is it easy to identify these things? No, it's not. And you have to go really, really deep. And just when you think you've pulled out everything, something else, boom, it's going to come up, and you're going to go, wow, I thought I had done a lot more work on myself. You know, you're going to have times when, if somebody's continuing to be negative, and if someone's continuing to project, and if someone's continuing to embody fear, which to me is the worst. I think fear is the most contagious, quote-unquote, ailment known to man. Think about that. Sit on that for a minute. Fear is the most contagious ailment to man. Who would ever think that, and who would ever say that? Well, I sure do, because I've experienced it myself. And that's what all these videos are about, what I have experienced for myself. And when somebody is deeply embedded with fear, they... And now let me explain that there are several different types of people. And I'm not going to get too much into that right now. But because it's the same, no matter if it's a sociopath, a psychopath, a narcissistic individual, a malignant narcissistic individual, an antisocial personality disorder, and I know a lot of this stuff is being discussed on YouTube and across the internet, and I'm so thankful for all of you people out there, all you amazing people who have unfortunately, like myself, have had to encounter those individuals. And thank you so much for putting that information out there, because we need it very much. And I'm hoping eventually that it can get into schools, just like they discuss you know, things that prevent children from being kidnapped or sexually molested or things like that. Well, these people are predators, and we should be talking about them as well. But I don't want to get off. I digress. So what I'm saying is that the projection and the blame needs to stop. And if you yourself are doing this, I tell you, you need to stop. Don't beat yourself up. This isn't about beating oneself up. This isn't about harsh judgment. What this is a responsibility that you have. And especially in a union, in a coupling, in a relationship, if you love that person, don't allow ego to ruin what you have, especially when there are children involved. We've got scary times coming up, people. Very scary times. Imminent war. You know, we need to stick together as a family, and then a family as a community, and so forth and so on. Right now is not the time to be prideful and boastful and stubborn and egotistical. You know, if you're an individual who is disordered, psychopath, sociopath, etc., then I don't expect you to do much about that, because you're just going to be who you're going to be. But to individuals who are watching this, who are empathic and nurturing and caring and compassionate and loving and seek growth and seek knowledge. I really truly come to you now and I say, please do the responsible thing. Get counseling, meditate, find other people in your community that you resonate with. Okay? Don't blame yourself and don't be ashamed, because we've all said things we shouldn't have said. We've all done things we shouldn't have done. But the healing comes from the acknowledgement and from being that divine being that you are, and acknowledging that you're not perfect and that you did this. But to maintain in constant blame and denial is only extremely harmful to families and to family values. That's not, people think that they have these tight-knit families and values, and then you find out that the parents, they don't fight, they don't argue, but they don't really speak either, and they're miserable, and they keep their lips tight, you know, they keep their mouth shut. They don't want to say anything to upset the other individual or to provoke the other individual, and that's not healthy, you know. Not being able to speak your mind for fear of someone continuing their projection, continuing their blame, continuing their finger pointing, it's very unhealthy. And so please stop the madness, okay? There's no excuse with all the information that we have, even if you can't afford counseling or you can't get out to counseling. I understand it's healthcare is expensive and counseling is expensive, but then do some reading, get online, learn about the subconscious mind, learn about childhood wounding, learn about personality disorders. I've been doing this for over 17 years of my life to get to the point that I am now, and people can look at my situation and say, well, you know, who are you? Well, I'm somebody that cares. That's who I am. And I care enough about myself to continue to work on myself on a daily basis so that I can teach my children by simply being an example. Teach my children, and then they teach people around them, and etc. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Am I making any money for that right now? No, I'm not. I'm having a hard time just like most of you. But that doesn't determine whether I'm successful or not. I'm very successful because I'm here right now. So what is the point to all of this? The point is that we need to take responsibility for our actions, to own it. If you did it, own it. Most things that happen, like most couples, when they argue and they fight over and over again, and one person says, I'm tired of you bringing this up, I'm tired of never being able to get past my past and what I did. But normally the reason that it keeps cycling over and over again is the person that was hurt, they're not getting that validation. They're not getting that validation from that other person, that acknowledgement of, I know what I did was wrong and I know that it hurt you. So it's that owning up to it. That other person doesn't want to make you feel like you're this awful, terrible person. They simply want to feel like you have remorse for what you did. You're not going to do it again, but you acknowledge it, and that you'll get the help that you need to not make those mistakes anymore. They don't want to hear, well, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't have done this, 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 and that to me. Because I'm going to tell you what, that's a form of projection and gaslighting, and that's very unhealthy. So do you really want to act like a sociopath or a psychopath or narcissist? Do you really want to have those character flaws? Do you want somebody to do you want to scare people off that love you, especially in this world that we're in? This world of unsure times, this very unstable world that we're living in, that's full of so much hatred, which is fear. when you have people that love you, you're just going to toss them out with the trash and treat them as if they're nothing just simply because you don't want to admit to something that you did? Get it out and move on with life. And that person will then stop bringing it up. It's a matter of identifying why someone is the way they are and why someone is behaving the way they are behaving. And I guarantee you it's normally not the reason that you think. You may be putting all these wonderful attributes and characteristics onto a disordered person that's never going to give you what you seek. And on the other hand, you may be applying terrible characteristics, horrific characteristics to an individual who's an empath and only simply trying to help you. But of course, in both situations, it is that empath that is being harmed. So I ask you, beautiful people, pass this on to others. It's okay. It's okay. We all make mistakes, but please, please work on yourselves. Love one another. Not conditionally, unconditionally, love one another. And those that you know that love you and have been there for you, honor and respect them by being the best that you can be. And those who are working on yourselves, please continue to do that. The world needs you. So much love to you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.